Hi all, and welcome to my new video related to the blockchain. And this video is the sixth video of the long series of videos, of 15 videos, to explain the blockchain. And this is the second step, digital signatures to authenticate permissions and transactions. Disclaimer, this presentation is for educational purpose only. It is not a financial advice. The reference books are Bitcoins and Blockchains, the basics of Bitcoin and blockchain basics. I recommend to read both of them in order to understand better and better the blockchain. So we started to discuss about the double spending problem, then we introduced the blockchain. We also discussed about two technology, public key cryptography, hash functions. And in the last video, we did the first step. So we had the problem of having accounts, that accounts need permission authentication, and the Satoshi Nakamoto solutions was to use public keys as account number. Now we will have the digital signatures in order to authenticate permissions and transactions. So, as I said before, we had the private key, public key, and addresses that can be used as account. We face now the problem of how we authenticate that we are the account holder and how we authenticate that the transactions is really sent by me. In the central model, we will use the password. We don't have a third party. We don't have a central authority, so we cannot use any password granted by anyone. So the solution is to use digital signatures. In fact, when you send a payment instruction, you digitally sign the transaction with your private key, and the signature proves that the instructions is indeed coming from you, the account holder. Digital signatures is already created in 1970, so it's not an invention as discussed in the second video's introduction to blockchain. It was already used and it was already invented from more than 40 years. Let's start to discuss, start to see how digital signatures work. Consider that we already know public key cryptography and we already know hash functions. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand. So I recommend you to see the videos one by one, from the first to the last one. Let's say I want to send a message with the proof that it is sent by me. At first send, at first step, I decide which message I want to send. For example, I want to send hello. As second step, I hash the message. And you know that the hash message is really a long message. Here I simplified, I shortened the message, or the book shortened the message in order to be simple and more easy to understand, but and the logic remaining the same. So I hash the message and obtaining an hash number. And then I use to my private key to hash to encrypt this as function, this hash number. So the recipient, what will get the recipient? We receive hello, and we receive the hash function encrypt. Was the third step that I encrypt the hash using my private key. Let's then move on. At first step, I send to the recipients the message together with the encrypted message with the hash function. This message is authenticated because it can be sent only by me. And let's see why. So now the message is sent to the recipient, and he firstly calculate the recipient receive the hello plus the receive the encrypted message of the hash function. So the recipient will do it will then use it will then calculate the hash function of the message hello, and then use my public key that are known to everyone to decrypt the message, obtaining again a hash function. If both hash functions are the same, then the message is authenticated, and because it can have only be turned by someone who owns the private key. We saw in one of the precedent lectures that private key and public key are linked together, and you can use the private key to encrypt and the public key to decrypt, or the public key to encrypt and the private key to decrypt. And so it means that if both the hash, the number are the same, and the message decrypted are the same, then it can have been written only by someone who owns the private key. So this method is used to authenticate the transfer of value by signing a transaction and by verifying a transactions. With this step, we remove the need to have a centralized list of username, and password. And now the problem we have, if we don't have a that we don't have a single central bookkeeper, we will solve this problem in one of the next videos. At this moment, we reach the level that we don't need a central authority for account number and balance because for as account number because we have cryptography, private key and public key, and we can authenticate that it's only us thanks to digital signature. Next step, I said that we have a single central bookkeeper. We will not have in the decentralized world. We will discuss about it in the next video. Thanks, and see you in one of the next videos. Bye.